But something happened today where I just felt like I had to come and share. As you know, this channel is devoted to healing, aspiring, and growing. That's what we focus on here at the eSpeaks platform. Today, I went to an event for small business owners with the City of New York. My primary business, I have a company called Abraham's Consulting, where we provide technology to the federal, state, and local government. And this is a big deal because you probably could count on one hand. I don't actually think there's another Black woman in New York City who's selling to the government on the scale that I am. Not to brag, but it's so true. But what made today so real is I went to this networking event. I was in a city agency where they try to get small businesses together so they can, open new doors, growth opportunities, the whole 9 yards, the networking thing. In comes my first boss. My first employer in the IT space. He hired me when I was only 22 years old. When he hired me, I was still in college. I had no IT experience, no background. I went for the interview, seemingly by happenstance, but I don't really believe in happenstance per se. When I reflect on it, I really think it was divine because I was just walking along in the hallway in college, City Tech to be exact, in Brooklyn. The guidance counselor said, come in. I want to send you an interview because he knew I'd been looking for a job. I wanted to change my job from the library where I was. At that time in my life, I was really struggling with anxiety. I would make a lot of mistakes at work. I was just feeling stuck, overwhelmed, battling anxiety, like really bad. Sometimes I would drop out of school. Sometimes I would not go to work because I'm too anxious. Anyway, on this particular day, he said, let me send you in this interview. So I went on the interview. And on the spot, my boss hired me. I don't know what he saw, but he hired me and he trained me. But they had these immigrants that used to work for them. I'm saying hi to my daughter. I'm trying to groom her to become a business owner as well. So important for her to hear these kind of stories because they're so transformational. Drives home the whole idea of why it's so important to learn the thinking framework and how to apply the thinking skill. Hoping that, a lot of me will rub off on her based on my experience. So yeah, he hired me on the spot, even though I had no clue about anything, and trained me and believed in me. Lasted there for like 2 years. Then he started acting up. So I quit. And I went to the competition. I stayed at the competition for 8 years. Think about it. All of this started from me having no IT experience, struggling massively with anxiety, having the guts to leave the library. When I did, I quit the library and just took the job on the spot. I've been wanting to leave, and I feel like God opened up the door for me to leave. And then what I did, I stayed at that company for 2 years and then moved on to the competition for 8 years. Yeah, that's where I was. And today, some 30 years later, okay, now you probably do the math and you know my age, right? In comes my boss into this networking session today. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, I'm competing for the very same opportunities that he's competing for. That's the magic of possibility thinking. That's the magic of thinking for a change. That's the magic of believing in yourself. Honestly, at the time, I didn't even believe in myself. And I took the risk. I took a risk on myself. But today, as I'm sitting there in the networking session, I said to the woman beside me, who's also a small business owner, I said, that's my very first boss. And she was like, wow, that's so surreal. And that's exactly what it was, surreal, because I'm there as his competition. We're competing for the very same opportunities. I admire him because he's an immigrant as well from Peru, I believe it was, and he had started his own business. And he probably didn't imagine that when he hired this little Black girl that walked into his office, that I would one day end up being his competition. It probably never occurred to him. But now, wow. And this is not the first time I've seen him. It's just that today, when I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. We talk a lot here on this channel about healing, aspiring, and growing. And the healing part of it has much to do with my journey to overcome and thrive beyond the splinter of my anxiety. My anxiety it's caused a lot of splinters in my life, or the splinters cause my anxieties, whichever way you want to look at it. So that healing journey is always going on for me. Anybody with anxiety but wants to start a business or wants to do anything, I'm all for them because I know it's possible because I'm here. Now I sell to the federal, state, and local government. I hire employees from around the world, technical consultants on site around the city, and I continue to grow my business because of possibility thinking. thinking. Now, back then when I was doing this, was I thinking about a thinking framework and, oh, you need to engage in possibility thinking? Of course not. But now that I learned that there is a framework within which to think, I want to encourage you to embrace it and learn it early. And even if you're older, learn it now, because the difference it's made even in my business within the last year is just something to marvel at. I just started learning about the framework. So I come on here just to encourage you to know that you need to find a place to think your thoughts, a place to shape your thoughts, a place to stretch your thoughts, a place to land your thoughts and fly your thoughts, because I'm living the very thing that I'm telling you about. I'm living the experience of embracing the framework. I just think it's something to be shared. And shared thinking is actually one of the skills. So I'm engaging in shared thinking as well. I talk a lot about thinking here because I think that when we think well, we change our lives. We change our destiny. We impact the world around us. We change the trajectory of our children's lives. Can you imagine if my mother knew about the thinking framework? It would have made such a huge difference in my life. Or both my parents, period. But they didn't, But I do, and so I'm going to pass it on as much as I can. And my daughter here, well, I'm going to groom her to be a business owner. She needs to become one, because the freedom that exists in being able to think independently and execute at will, I would not trade it for the world. All of that because I decided to step out of a limb, take a risk on myself. I encourage you to do the same thing too, because you're worth it. A lot of times we want to get to our altitude, but we don't have a pathway to get there. I'm offering that on the Eve Speaks platform. So yes, I'm in technology, but because of me being so gung-ho about a growth journey, I launched into Eve Speaks, which is a coaching arm of my platform that encourages women and men too, if they're watching, but mainly women. My market is women, to heal. Because a lot of times we want to become these business owners and all these things, but unless we work on our personal development, it's highly unlikely that you're going to reach your capacity. And your personal growth and development is things like your relational health, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your financial health, or your professional life will only grow as high as your personal development. Sometimes we want to separate them and operate in silos and compartments, but the truth is, unless you merge the two, unless you're growing, you can want to aspire to all these things all you want. If you have not prioritized personal development, self-care, working on your mind, the way you think, or I can't say that enough because it's so huge, the way you think, the way you are, that your beingness, then you can want to be the president of the United States all you want, or whatever else you want to do. You're going to be impeded by the lack of purposeful and intentional personal development and growth. And so our platform specifically addresses that. Eve Speaks, the Eve Speaks branch of my business. So my company is Abraham's Consulting. And under Abraham's Consulting, which is the technology arm, I launched Eve Speaks to help people to understand that without personal growth and development, you're going to be limiting your professional growth. They go hand in hand. It's that merged thinking that's required. It's that holistic approach to growth. You cannot put them in silos. You cannot think that you're going to make waves if you don't approach it holistically. And that happens a lot, even in church. People say they're Christians or we believe in God, but then you look at the life and you're like, well, where is it? There's a disconnect, right? You go to church, you say you believe in God, but your life is a hot mess. Like, what is that? That is a problem, because there's no merger between the doctrine and the lifestyle. Unless it starts to cement together, then it's just theory. And that principle applies in every area of life. I just jumped on to share today that I was just taken aback. Reflective thinking is one of them too. I reflected on my day today and thought to myself, it was so important for me to take a risk on myself. It was so important to engage in possibility thinking. And even when I started my own business 18 years ago, after I left working for people, the reason why I left was because of possibility thinking. Because my boss at the time, I asked him for a raise, and he was like, oh, if you were in India, I would pay you just $30,000 a year as a whole collar and send you home. Meanwhile, I was the only salesperson he had in that little rinky-dink shop. And I was like, so you don't value me, you don't value what I bring to the table, even though you're benefiting from it, you and your wife and your whole household. I came home and I told my husband I quit. That was another story. He didn't like that too much, but he supported me. And here I am 18 years later. But at the time when my boss told me, oh,
If you already in there, I would have sent you home and pay you just $30,000.
I could have just settled on that. I thought, oh, well, I don't have a chance. But no, I was worth it. And I believed it. And yeah, I quit. And I started Abraham's Consulting. Now I get to employ women, not just women, but women to take their seat at the table in technology. A lot of women are not in the technology space because they're intimidated or it's hard to get in or it's discriminated against because they're women, whatever. Well, I'm here to open the doors. And that is what I've done and will continue to do because I believe in their possibility. I say all this to say that you need to click the link that I'm going to put in this video or just go to my website, evespeaks.com. If you want to check out my technology website as well, it's abrahamsconsulting.com. It's the same website. You go there and look for the personal consultation site link where you can set up a personalized consultation to kind of evaluate yourself because you can't grow you if you don't know you. And so we offer these consultations so that you can kind of take your pulse, how you're doing from a growth perspective. Because unless you do that, 2024 will end and it will be just like 2023, where you'll be thinking, you know, I need this to change, I need this to change. But unless you have a plan, unless I have a plan continuously, I always have a plan. I'm always on a growth journey, by the way. You will be in the same position you were last year. So the eSpeak platform encourages you to click the link and schedule your personalized consultation. I'm not sure who that is. A bunch of people joined in and out, but I just want to tell you to go ahead and take the risk on yourself and believe in your possibility. Have a great evening. I just got home, so I got to go make dinner now, but I was just so moved by my experience today, watching my boss walking while I compete for the same opportunities that he's competing for. My very first employer. Amazing. Amazing. Have a great day.